I, 21F, was in a very bad car accident about 3 years ago. A drunk driver ran a stoplight, cut off a semi-truck, which then crashed into me, sending me crashing into two different cars, and then ultimately into an embankment. My car was mangled, and my leg was crushed, completely destroyed, and it had to be amputated. I also lost a couple fingers, the tip of one and all of another. I'm also left with some gnarly scars that used to bother me, but I'm learning to deal with them. I got a couple different insurance payouts, and some pain and suffering money in addition to my medical bills. Being paid in with my money, I purchased a custom-made leg to take the place of the one I lost. When I have pants and shoes on, you can hardly tell, unless you're really looking. I still limp, but some days I don't have as pronounced a limp. Earlier today I went to the store with my boyfriend, my sister, her girlfriend, and our mother. I drove. I had to learn to drive with my left foot, but I'm really good at it now. I also bought a new car with my money, and had to go through a ton of therapy to get past my PTSD, but I'm doing well there now as well. So, I drove us, and because of my injuries, in addition to my leg, I also have chronic hip, neck, and back pain, and some issues with my lungs from the time spent intubated in a medically induced coma that led to pneumonia. I have a handicap placard for my car. I have trouble walking without getting tired, so it really helps to park close to the door. Today I did so and unknowingly took the space from someone who was circling back around for it. Apparently the man had been looking for a close space, and had missed the one I took and went down and around. He was still on the other aisle when I pulled in, so I didn't cut him off or anything, and had no way of knowing he wanted the spot. He parked in the yellow striped zone and got out and immediately began confronting me about stealing a space from people who actually need it, how I'm just some kid who has no respect for those who are truly sick and suffering. He then ordered me to move. My group was urging me to just walk the way, but this has happened before, and once the police were even called. I'm sick of people thinking that just because I'm young, that I don't have a legit need for a little extra consideration. I said okay, and went to the car, and got in like I was going to drive off. I was wearing a skirt and leggings, so it wasn't quite obvious at first, but when I sat down I took my leg off, and showed it to the man, including my stump. I then asked him if it was okay if I still parked there. He walked away calling me disgusting and rude, and said I could have just told him, and I made him look stupid. My group was embarrassed and said that I made things awkward because there was a crowd. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot at all. My mom had severe fibromyalgia and Hashimoto's disease. She suffered severe pain, and could only walk short distances without then being bedridden for days. There were so many idiots who completely disregarded her placard and demand that she explain why she had one, because she didn't look sick. Sometimes she would just swallow it up and park farther out anyway, just to not have to deal with jerks like this guy. I think you should do it every time anyone hassles you. It's harassment of people already dealing with a medical issue or disability. This has to stop. And it won't without people like you standing up to people like him. Not the idiot 100%. I have a disabled tag, because my bad days are really bad between back, hip and shoulder. I do not park in handicapped space, unless I need it. Have had people say that small limp isn't a handicap. You know, and they don't, is what is seen, is usually tons of pain, that has been hidden because people screw. My husband and I decided it was easier to get my carry permit, so, if I ever have another person manhandle me, while using a handicapped parking spot, I have a defense to scare them away, or use if needed. The few who abuse the parking issue will have come-up-ins eventually. If you truly are trying to protect handicapped, you listen before aggressive words, not the idiot. For some people, like that man, it takes moments of someone embarrassing the crap out of them to get the point across. If not everything is as it seems. You're simply telling him you have a prosthetic leg could have resulted in him calling you a liar. Sometimes just walking away isn't enough. Maybe next time he's in that situation he'll think twice before confronting someone about their legitimacy of parking in the handicapped spot. I have an invisible illness that resulted in me needing a placard, so I know exactly what you go through. You finished an argument without engaging. Bravo. My wife, 32 female, and I 35 male, have 2 daughters, 4 years and 6 months. I have a younger sister, 27, who I have a warm relationship with. When my wife was pregnant with our first, she gushed constantly about how she was happy her daughter would have an auntie. She was very close with her aunts growing up, and she wanted that with her daughters. I told her several times, both gently and to the point, that my sister was not going to be down with that, and wouldn't be involved with the kids much. My sister doesn't like kids, and she has several medical conditions that wouldn't make her a reliable babysitter either. I am fine with this. My wife ignored it, and is constantly trying to shove our daughters onto my sister, either trying to get her to babysit, or showing up at her house with kids in tow, or inviting her out, and bringing them as a surprise. I have told my wife to knock it off, and my sister has also tried to establish boundaries, and she backs off for a bit, before trying again some time after. As a result, my sister has grown pretty distant with my wife. This came to a head this week. Our babysitter couldn't cover our date night this weekend, so we scheduled next weekend, not a big deal. Turns out my wife went behind my back and asked my sister to babysit again. I found this out when my sister rang me and said that she was going no contact with us for a bit until my wife could start respecting her boundaries and limitations. I confronted my wife and said she had to stop pushing my sister. She couldn't sit for us, and that was final. My wife started screaming at me for taking my sister's side over hers, and has not spoken to me for the past day or so. I know she is crushed that our daughters don't have an involved aunt, but I don't think this is world-ending. We have a big family who are involved, and my sister isn't unkind to her daughters. But I might be the idiot because I feel like I am siding with my sister over my wife. Not the idiot, your wife is an idiot for pushing your sister's boundaries. I had a friend like this. She would come to my place unannounced and leave her kid with me. Even when I say no, she would be knocking on my door. I did the same as your sister did, go no contact. We did not make these kids, you did. Babysitting is your problem, not ours. Now it could be different if your sister is asking you favors, but if she is minding her own business and is not bothering you, then do not bother her as well. Your wife is expecting too much from your sister. You said it yourself, your sister has medical issues. Tell your wife again to back off and respect your sister's boundaries. Not the idiot. You are not taking your sister's side. She cannot force your sister to babysit. What would taking your wife's side look like? Dropping the kids at her front door and leaving. She has to see that this has also affected your relationship with your sister. It's incredibly disrespectful of you and your sister. Also, your sister might have a relationship with your kids when they are older. Right now they are 4 and 6 months, and many people don't like kids, and are not willing to babysit. That's even without some difficulties that your sister has. So by behaving like this, she is taking that possibility away. Not the idiot. Normally I'm big on the do your best to stay on your SO's side during fights with family, because I'm all for the united front stuff, but not in cases like this, when your wife is 100% in the wrong. Nobody but you are obligated to like your kids or enjoy their presence. Yes, that includes other family members. Your sister has made it clear that she doesn't want to be an involved aunt, and that is completely fine. That's her choice and you should both be respectful of that. Your children may be wonderful and perfect in the eyes of you and your wife, but to others, they just look like drooling goblins. Your kids shouldn't be forced on anyone except the people responsible for them, you and your wife. So I, 24F, have been playing the piano since I was 5, and it is now my job. I also play the flute in the orchestra of my city. Piano has always been my passion and I don't know how to express myself in other ways if not playing. My family hasn't been supportive of this passion of mine that I paid for my lessons starting from 16 years old, because my parents didn't want me to attend piano lessons anymore. I then found a job that helped me pursue my dream, and I eventually became a professional pianist and flutist on the side. My sister, on the other hand, 28F, studies law and she receives more attention than I do for obvious reasons. When I lived with my parents, they would blame the fact that sister didn't graduate law yet school on me, simply because I was distracting her with constantly playing my instruments. As soon as they told me this, I stopped playing in my own house and found somewhere else to stay for several hours, and I would play there. Shortly after I moved out. Now, her marriage was a week ago, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of money. I am struggling with my rent and expenses, so I couldn't get her anything for her marriage, which made me feel super uncomfortable. I told my parents and they said this: next time you'll think twice about your career. I decided to rehearse a very beautiful piece by Chopin that I knew my sister loved, because she always used to fall asleep when I played it, Nocturne number 6 in G minor. Plus she would always talk to me about her crush, now husband, while I was playing that very piece. I thought it was meaningful and she would have loved it as a gift. During her wedding I told her I had a surprise for her, something that meant so much for the both of us, and I started playing. The reaction of everybody made me think it was amazing, and I went and hugged her. Little did I know that she hated it. The next day I receive a message from her saying that she wants to cut me off, that not only I didn't buy her the necklace she has been hinting on, but that I dared playing at her wedding without first consulting her. In that moment I felt like crap, because I didn't think that it would have been disrespectful. My parents told me that if I don't stop my career as a musician they don't want anything to do with me, because my personality revolves around my talent. This broke my heart, but I can't stop thinking I might be the idiot. Not the idiot you don't need to ask permission to do something nice for the couple at their wedding. That is sad, that people think so. My friend's sister did this mid-wedding and it was beautiful. My dad sang for us and it was so nice. He was marrying us so it was right in the middle of the ceremony. It sounds like even her husband knew that was a sentimental piece. I'm really sad for you about how your family acts about your music. And it sounds like all she wanted was a necklace. Mountain's sister threw a similar tantrum over a Christmas gift years ago, and it changed our relationship. Made me think all she cares about is monetary value. Not the idiot. I'm sorry your sister acted so horribly entitled. Why does she deserve a necklace cause she's getting married? Aren't wedding gifts meant to be for the couple, not just the bride? Anyway, I think the best thing you can do with your life is cut them all off. Every single one. They don't support you now in any way, belittle you and your talent, cause you're not like the entitled law school bridezilla. You will be happier and more successful without them. Remember that when they want to showcase and use your talent, sis has kids, guess who's going to be teaching, for free no doubt, cause there will be a time. Not the idiot, not the idiot, not the idiot. X3 just cause I have seen the idiot saying everyone screws cause you didn't ask for permission. What the hell? If you were doing something inappropriate, I can see the need to ask for permission. You were playing a beautiful piece on the piano, because you thought it meant something to your sister and her husband. I have 3 kids and I can't imagine being disappointed in them for following their talent and passion. Your sister is a jerk for the necklace comment, what would her husband do with it? A wedding gift is for both bride and groom now. Your parents are idiots for not supporting you in your life choices. And everyone saying LP is the idiot are all idiots. I'm a teacher and a youth soccer coach for my local high school. I played as a goalkeeper for my college team, but never made it too far in the soccer world. These days, I just want to inspire young kids to pursue this sport. One of the best players on my team is a 14-year-old kid named Todd, who's 6'2", extremely strong, and has scored over 10 goals this season, and we've only played 4 games so far. Because of this, and the fact that he's quite a bit more developed than his peers, he's developed a huge ego. I have spoken to him several times about how he needs to be respectful of his teammates, but he seems to just brush it off. Last week during training, Todd was able to outmaneuver our team's goalkeeper, score a goal in a disrespectful manner. After he got past the keeper, he did a ballerina twirl, before kicking the ball into the net, and then called him a loser. Instead of berating him, I decided to teach him a lesson, and told him that since he's been doing so well, he should practice doing penalty kicks with me, and I told the rest of the team that they should watch and could learn a thing or two from Todd. I'm nowhere near a professional goalkeeper, but I still competed at a pretty high level. I was able to stop every single one of Todd's shots. After around 15 penalty kicks, Todd's nerves and frustration started getting to him, and his next shot started missing the net entirely. I stopped the session soon afterwards, and walked to him, and said, "By your definition, I guess that makes you a loser, huh? Like I said before, you need to be respectful, and not have such a huge ego." Todd was holding back tears and stormed out of the training session. Later I got complaints from his parents, as well as the school administration, that I humiliated him, and that my demonstration crushed his confidence. This became apparent in the next game we played where he performed quite poorly. Personally, I think I taught him a valuable lesson, in that it's important to always be respectful, as there's always bigger fish in the sea. You're the idiot. You attempted to teach a lesson that I feel was deserved, but you botched the execution. You wanted to teach him the importance in being humble while also being skilled. I feel like the best way to handle this was to practice penalty kicks with him in an environment where his peers, or anyone else, for that matter, wouldn't be around, and at the end of the practice, underscore the importance of balancing confidence with humility. Instead, you took the opportunity to ridicule him in front of his peers, and while it could have been even more effective than teaching humility, you chose to call him a loser as the cherry on top. Not the idiot. There are far too many people who don't understand things when they are told. They have to be shown. And in this case you did him a favor, because at that age, I knew some guys who would have put him in the hospital for that attitude. You gave him his own medicine, and as a result, you quite probably made him a better person in the long run. I feel like a lot of the people saying you are the idiot either never played sports, or were not on the receiving end of people like Todd when they were in school. And I think an important thing to note here is that OP never called Todd a loser. He used Todd's own words and logic on Todd, and Todd didn't like how it tasted. You were the idiot. This is incredibly childish of you to do, OP. You humiliated a 14-year-old in front of all of his friends as well as others. A good private talking to would have done the trick instead of what you did. But the way this was during training, usually kids fool around during that since it's usually just drills and boring stuff. I'm sure a few others of his peers were fooling around the same way. What he did was incredibly childish as well, but that's the point, he is a child. You can't expect him to understand things from your perspective. Heck, you have no idea that lesson you taught him was even the right one.